How's it going, guys? Jacob Dupre here. Today I'm going to give you a little crash course on the style of Oscar Peterson, one of the greatest jazz pianists to ever live. Now I'll start out by saying, some would say it's maybe almost criminal to try to sum up a player like Oscar in a single video. Look, I get that, I understand, but what I'm going to do is just give you a little peek into some of the facets of his technique and stride piano playing in general, because that's really the school he came from. One of his main influences being Art Tatum, who was one of the greatest pianists of all time, but of course jazz as well. And that stride style has a very specific kind of mechanic and way to be played on the piano. There's also plenty, obviously, to unpack with his right hand, not just the left hand, what he's doing when he's improvising, the chordal language that he has. But I'm just going to give you a few things to pique your interest, to show you a peek behind the curtain, to perhaps get you on your way to adapting this style for yourself. So first, let's talk about that stride left hand. There's a few things that Oscar or somebody like Tatum would do. One of those things is walking tenths. Now this is something that really separated them, because a lot of those stride players had really big hands. So they could reach a tenth, which an interval of a tenth is like from here, from a C to an E. Now I can reach that with my hand. It's big enough for that, but I cannot do that same interval from E flat to G, for instance. I have to break it. So you probably heard something kind of like this. So we call that walking tenths. It's where you're walking that tenth around the instrument. Look, I ain't no Oscar. I mean, there'll never be another one. And physically, I'm not either, because he did have really big hands. But you can still get that effect. Also, you can do, which we'll go into now, is a kind of typical stride pattern, which rather than walking those tenths to get the chord information and to get movement, your bass line instead is just a simple 1-5. So like E flat, B flat, and back. And you put a little chord in between. And there are some stride pianists that could jump the whole instrument and play very fast. But rather than have to do all that, you can just put it within the range of an octave. So something like this. I tried to go back to the tenths, but you can see you can get a really nice movement with that. I went into a little bit of that right hand vocabulary there, and taking a peek at that, it's hard to make it really simple. There's a lot going on here with the voicings and all the improvisational material that you can use, but also I can give you a few things to just kind of get you interested, and also something you'll hear and go, oh, that's what that is. So when you listen to these players, you get a sense of what it takes to do it. One of the things that Oscar would do is with his right hand, he would do things that were based on a lot of pentatonic shapes. So the pentatonic scale, that would be the minor pentatonic of C. Here's E flat major. It's kind of like the major scale with 2 less notes. So something he might do is say over an A flat major chord, he would play these little kind of pentatonic cells here, which all together give you a major scale, but they do have that kind of pentatonic sound. So this is C, C, E flat, F to G, and the same thing but like F minor, and pairing those together. So kind of in context, maybe I'd do like, I went up and down with it there, but you could do part of that and what Oscar did to kind of move jazz piano where it was to a new place is his use of voicings, very colorful voicings. So in addition to the stride, left hand, some of the vocabulary in the right, doing things in octaves, chords, and then also some runs, some kind of colorful runs. You also have voicings, harmonic content, really beautiful, lush chords. And for these kind of voicings, you know, if I was going to give somebody that wants to approach this kind of thing a way in, of course, starting with the music theory, starting with the basics of how these chords are constructed is important, but you can start small and build. You know, you could take something simple, like just say, you know, you want to play a 13 chord, which you go, oh my God, what is that? What is a 13? What is that? Pretty simple. Say you have A flat dominant, 7, so that would be A flat, then the flat 7 here, that's a G flat and a C. Now that's a pretty bland chord, I guess you could say, or just basic kind of sound, but you add the 13, that's the F up top, all of a sudden it has more color to it, right? And so you find a shape like that, you're like, ooh, I really like that. Well, now start trying to move it to other places. You know, you could simply just move it up and down the keyboard. Of course, I say simple. I know this is hard when it's the first time, but this is how you get used to playing these shapes. I think of them as shapes. A lot of it is knowing this and being able to put it in different places, in different keys on the instrument. You can rattle something off, and that was me using that 13 shape. Of course, there's a little more going on there. The way I got to the point where I could play like that, improvise like that with voicings is just simply this. Or taking it around the circle of fifths, as we say. So that's the big lesson here. Start small and then build.